Hey there, fellow classic comic collectors. As always, I'm Scott Harris King, and today I want to talk to you about amazing cover art. But not front cover art. No, I want to talk to you about something that's gone a little bit under the radar, I think overlooked by some collectors and comic fans. It's back cover art. You know, in this day and age, anyone out there who's a comic collector knows that the last few years there's been a real sort of shift away from sort of collecting the filler issues, which are AKA what we used to call stories, and towards just getting the keys. And so what a lot of keys are now is, of course, their first appearances and stuff, but it's less story-based and it's more art-based. You get sort of this baseball card mentality with the first issues, but then you have the thing where, because so many comics are being slabbed and you're not actually opening them and reading them, the front cover art has become a big deal. There's a lot of comics now that are keys just because of the artwork. And I'm actually totally fine with this. I think it's really cool. Obviously, you know, just in general, anyone who wants to collect comics for any reason, there's no way to do it wrong, really. So I'm fine with that. But also, I do appreciate comic art as art. And even if you separate it from the story content inside, just appreciating the covers as artwork is something that I completely endorse. I love it. I love comic book covers, of course. So this is all great, but I do think that there's one aspect of this that has sort of fallen through the cracks, and that's sort of where these things sort of come together in first appearances and key issues that are considered to have bad covers, and particularly first appearances of characters where they don't appear on the covers and things like that. I'm thinking of things like Hawkman #4, the first appearance of Zatanna. She's not on the cover. And so, you know, a lot of people, she's on the splash page, and I've seen a lot of people that are like, well, if they use that splash page as the cover, if she was on the cover, Hawkman 4 would be a lot more valuable and a lot more sought after. And it's the same for, you know, historically, that same problem is, you know, Strange Tales 110, the first Doctor Strange. He's not on the cover, and so it took a long time for that book to sort of catch up to where it should be in terms of value, because it had just sort of this boring cover that had nothing to do with Doctor Strange. And because of this, I think there's a few books that have been overlooked because people are like, oh, those are keys, but they're not, you know, as cool as they should be because the character's not on the cover. When in fact they are on the cover, but they're on the back cover. Now, part of me sort of understands sort of the you know, people look at the front cover, it's the main advertisement. I sort of get the front cover bias. But a lot of comics actually don't have advertising in the back. They have full art on the back covers, and all you have to do is turn the comic over. And if you have it in a slab, you just turn the slab around and you can see the artwork there. And I have a couple of examples in particular. This is something that came up on the Classic Comics forum. We were talking about certain back issues, and it just triggered my thinking. And one of them here I'm going to show you first is Albedo #3. Here's the front cover of Albedo #3. This is the second appearance. I'm trying to hold this gingerly because it's got the black and I don't want to get fingerprints on it. I'm just going to set it back down for a second. That's Albedo #3. Now, it's the second appearance of Usagi Yojimbo. And if you look at eBay, and anyone who, you know, collects Usagi Yojimbo kind of knows this already, but if you look at eBay, Albedo #2, of course, first appearance, way up there, through the roof. Great cover, classic cover with him on it. Albedo #3... and then Albedo #4, the third appearance to Usagi Yojimbo, he's on the front cover, and you'll see a lot of listings that say Albedo #4, second Usagi Yojimbo cover. Third appearance, second cover. But actually, he has his own full cover on the back of Albedo #3. That's absolutely fantastic. It's even got the issue number, it's got the logo in Japanese. It's got like Mount Fuji in the background. It's absolutely fantastic. Now, there are some other reasons why Albedo #4, you know, maybe should be more valuable than #3, mainly print run. My understanding is that issue #3, they sort of overprinted, so there's about 10,000 copies printed in #3. There are only about 6,000 copies printed in issue 4. So issue 4 does have a lower print run. It's the front cover instead of the back, but this is a book that's overlooked. All those listings saying, you know, that issue 4 has the second Usagi Yojimbo cover are just wrong. He's on the cover #3, and it's an amazing cover if you just turn the book over. But the big one I wanted to mention, though, is Star Slayer #2, the first appearance of Rocketeer. Now, here it is, Star Slayer #2. Great cover. Mike Grell with his character Star Slayer. Not a great looking logo. I've never liked this sort of early 80s logo here. But really cool cover. Totally great, right? Now, most people know that in the backup story here is the first appearance of the Rocketeer. And this is a book that everyone has always expected would take off, and it just never has quite taken off. And so you can still get them very affordably. Part of that's because they printed so many copies since Mike Grell was so popular at the time. There's a lot of copies around. But the other thing people say is like, oh, if only the Rocketeer was on the cover, if only there was a Dave Stevens Rocketeer cover, because of course Dave Stevens covers are like totally blowing up right now as well. Just in the last few years, some of the harder to find, cool looking Dave Stevens covers have gone way up. I was looking at some of them on eBay the other day, and there's some raw copies, not even CGC copies, but raw copies of some of the things like Planet Comics #1 are going for 3 figures now, over $100. There have been several sales of Planet Comics 1 over 100, and there's a number of his other covers that are getting up there into $60, $70, $80 range. And so people are like, oh, imagine if the first appearance of Rocketeer had a great Dave Stevens cover. Well, those people apparently have never actually seen or held a copy of Star Slayer #2, because it's got an absolutely amazing Dave Stevens Rocketeer cover. It's just on the back. If you just flip the cover over, look at this. Here's the back cover with this awesome first appearance of Rocketeer, right? Up at the top, it says, starting this issue, careening through the sky, and out of these pages comes The Rocketeer by Dave Stevens. Here's excitement dished out in brutal chunks, back when the teeth of justice bit deep into the throat of crime. And then, awesome cityscape, and then we've got, Dave Stevens is famous for drawing beautiful women. And this character in particular is famous for being patterned after Betty Page, and helped launch the big Betty Page revival interest in the 80s. And here she is with this awesome gangster fight scene, guy being shot down like it's an issue of Crime Does Not Pay. Just an amazing, amazing back cover. Tremendous cover for the first appearance of the Rocketeer. Now, like on the Classic Comics forum, some of the people were saying, there's one person who said that, in their collection, they have all the Star Slayers issues backwards so that the front cover is showing, so you can see these awesome Rocketeer covers. Issue 3, the second appearance of Rocketeer, also has a full Dave Stevens cover for Rocketeer if you just flip the book over. Again, considering the importance of the Rocketeer, not just the original movie, but the rights are still owned by Disney. And they did a Rocketeer cartoon in 2019. They've announced that they're doing a live-action Rocketeer movie reboot that will be coming to Disney Plus at some time. They've been working on it for a while. My understanding is they have a completed script, and after the pandemic is over, they may start filming it then. So, like, Rocketeer has a lot of surge of interest in the last few years. One of the people on the forums was talking about how someone just put out some high-end Rocketeer action figures, and they sold out immediately, and there's a lot of like collectability of people buzzing because there's the Rocketeer movie is now getting into that 25-year nostalgia window where the people that are our age are a little bit younger who grew up with the movie are now getting nostalgic and now have the money to indulge in nostalgia. So there's a lot of things going on with Rocketeer between the character itself and this tremendous Dave Stevens cover. And yet I think a lot of collectors don't realize it. They see Star Slayer #2, and they're like, oh, yeah, Rocketeer is in it, but it's just, because he's not on the cover. Well, he is on the cover. So I just wanted to highlight these and just remind people there's a lot of great back cover artwork that is not seen as much. You go to comic stores, they have these comics in the bags with the boards, and you don't get to see the back covers when the boards are there. So I think a lot of people just don't know about this. They aren't aware of how many of these cool back cover first appearances, second appearances, key issues are out there that should be more valued, more valuable, and more key if people just knew about the great covers that they do in fact have. So Anyway, that's just a little thing I wanted to share with you. Star Slayer number 2, Albedo number 3, a couple great examples of the awesome back cover artwork that's out there waiting to be discovered. Hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.